5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning. This is your wake-up call.
Welcome to China Jedi TALK, where we interview a broad selection of the human race, who spawn from different cities, towns and villages in and around China and across the world, to talk about life, business, love, strife, places, faces, different races, attractions, distractions, goals and aspirations, creating selections, affections, opportunities and connections, and as always, shining humor, love and light on Chinese life. May the smile be with you.
Can I just say that my questions just like yours are just begun? Can I just say that your questions just like mine are just begun? Cause it was breaking news. Hello listeners. Well, this is it. China Jedi Talk, episode 16. Everything happens in cycles. Now if we go back to 2017, when we had our first China Jedi show, episode 1, it was with none other than the co-host of the time, Anthony Benton. Over the years, as the show grew in popularity, the researchers, producers started to feel that we needed to turn in a little bit of a different direction to take on the new growth of the listeners and what they wanted to know more than what they wanted to know before, and therefore Anthony Benton came to the decision that they'd part ways, left the show. Ratings went sky high after that. Some would say that the people in the office, the corporates, the leaders got it right. I would like to just put a little bit of a different bridge to that. All I can say is, after many years of trials and tribulations, of growth, declines, ups and downs, we have, for the final time, Benton is back, ladies and gentlemen, in the studio today. I am looking at him now. His hair is actually not thin. Anthony has defied logic. He's actually grown more hair on the patch that there wasn't hair on before all those years ago, and maybe we can talk about that in a bit. But Anthony, how does it feel to be back?
To bring back the dynamic duo.
The dynamic duo.
It's back to the way it should be, really, isn't it? You know, you lost the original core of the show.
Sorry, Anthony, I've just been passed a note. Apparently, when you did leave in 2019, the listenership went from, 1,300 per episode to 4.4 million.
That's perfectly understandable. You know, it's the kind of energy I like to put out there, you know. Like to repulse things. And
you launched us. No, but it's absolutely brilliant to have you back in as a friend, let alone an ex-co-host. It's really nice to see you here today.
Yeah, I would like to clink glasses with you, but mine's made of silicone, so it's not going to make much of a clink.
You've always had green fingers, helping the world.
Well, that's nothing to do with where I stick them. It's not mould.
That would be brown fingers,
would
it?
What I grow.
I just wish, in a way, it was under maybe better circumstances.
No, I actually think these are perfect circumstances, because it was all about us in China, and you just happened to be leaving tomorrow. And you decided to make it into a race, because I for a while have been umming and ahhing about leaving China.
You have indeed.
And finally decided to do it. And Mr. Bradshaw here decided, no, I'm going to leave before Mr. Benton. I must win the race.
Yeah.
And you're actually off tomorrow.
We're off tomorrow.
And I'm off 3 days after that. So it's kind of like this divine change of direction. A new life, a new start, a new motion of the universe, sending us off on new adventures. So yeah, it's like it's meant to be.
And I think I prefaced it as we started today, before I started babbling, that the end of cycles, and clearly not obviously copying each other in a way, although I think, as you said, you tried to beat me to leaving. That it is the end of the cycle for us.
Yeah, I don't think it's about beating anything. I think it's not you beating me beating you. It's an energy. It's like like you say, it's cycles, it's energies, it's motions of the universe, it's motions of the world, it's cycles, it's spirals. It's just something has pushed us both in this direction to go towards something new, right?
Absolutely.
And it just so happens to be, and that's the way it's been with me so many times in life with so many different people. Just these convergences of energy that seem to happen at the same time, and it's never planned for me. It's always these things that just seem to fall into place with the right people at the right time, and things just happen, man. You're off on your new adventure, and I'm off on mine, and we'll do it again. We'll see each other again. New place, new times, man.
Yeah, and you said different directions. Let's just bring the listeners up to date. So it is true, we are leaving China. We're not leaving China together. I'm leaving before, a few days before the Bentons. The Bradshaws are leaving tomorrow, and we're not coming back. Let's put it like that. It's not a holiday this time.
Not in the near future, no. It's like, I mean, maybe one day, but
we are going in different directions for different things. I think
quite literally on the globe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
You're off to Indonesia and we're off to England.
Yeah,
so.
Well, there you go. Thanks very much. Well, Mel's just finished the pod there then. Let's go back a little bit because I mean, let's start with you, Anthony. You've been here for how long in Zhuhai, China?
Almost 18 years.
A true Jedi.
It would seem that way. I have absorbed the force of China well and truly. It's been a blast. It's been an experience. It's been an adventure. I've seen the highs, I've seen the lows, I've seen things change dramatically. It's been an adventure for sure.
How many years did you just say? Sorry.
Almost 18.
18. So, and ourselves, we've been here. For me, when I first did 14 years nearly. So it's a long time.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was actually going to just say, may the smiles be with you. It's a bit corny, but may they be, because
me too.
Sometimes, well, the only way to face any adversity and challenges with a smile, I feel. And even when you're not in adversity and challenge, it's always nice to have a smile too. And that has been really the idea of what we built the podcast on, shining love and light and humour.
I hope so.
On Chinese life, and who knows
anyone out there
where you'll be shining light from next.
Well, you know where the light always shines from me.
Indeed. And of course it's a dark and gloomy place in the place where we come from in England. Me myself from
I don't want to be too doom and gloom.
southwest.
I'm actually quite excited about going back to England. There's a lot of things I'm looking forward to. As much as I love China.
Can we go into that? Let's start with some positives then of the pull.
China?
No, pull factor. What's pulling you?
Pulling me to England?
You know, it's like, and listeners, I'm sure you all know this, but if you're going for an interview tomorrow to a job, don't talk about the push factors, why you're leaving the job that you've been in. Talk about the pull factors. Employers want to hear about the pull factors. What's exciting you about coming over to their side? Why are you going back to Brighton?
I love going into the countryside of China where you can get clean air, but that's not where I live, because to go out into the countryside of China, you're in the middle of nowhere, and as beautiful and amazing as it can be and all the wonderful sights that you can get in China, there's nothing there. If you want to live, you need to be near a kind of human settlements. So going back to England, I will be going back to, obviously I'm going towards Cambridge, and clean country air in England. As much as Zhuhai is a beautiful little city, the air here still has some issues. Like you don't dust your room for a few weeks, you got a good layer of dust settling on everything. You know, there's definitely particles in the air, as any city does in any parts of the world. But
there's a listener now in England. Let's picture them. Maybe they're in bed, just getting up, having to listen to you.
Sorry.
And they just wipe their index finger along the windowsill, and a load of dust comes up.
Yeah, it wouldn't be as thick. I really don't think it would be. Maybe if you're in London or you know, somewhere that's, you know, and right in the middle of a city. I mean, all cities are polluted, But that's what I'm saying. Zhuhai is a small city and Zhuhai is
got a lot bigger, hasn't it?
Beautiful
Over
city.
the years.
You know, it's one of the most amazing cities I've ever lived in. It's got the fact that you've got green within the city, the small peaks, the mountains, you can be up in your high balcony from your apartment and you can look out and you can see the remnants of, you know, jungle beyond the borders of the city, but in the city there's still that bit of, you know, dirt in the air. And I just feel that going to where I'm going, like Cambridge, which is a small city, I just feel the air will just be a little bit cleaner. And the fact that I can go out to, say, Thetford Forest, which is 30-minute drive from Cambridge, I'll just be able to go out into the countryside within 30 minutes drive and just breathe that clean air. Because in China's so big, and the cities, even a small city is big. When you want to get out of the countryside, you have to drive for hours and hours. So yeah, like being able to get into the British countryside easily and breathe clean air, I'm really looking forward to that.
That's a big pull factor, and I think a lot of people who have come to China and left China or still in China would, if I can use the word, hollow with and understand very well. So you're an air enthusiast.
Well, who isn't? We all need it, right?
Yeah.
We've all got to breathe the air. It's better if it's clean.
It's a big pull factor. The other thing actually that comes into my mind, because we're off to
you're going for super clean air.
We're off to Indonesia.
Indeed.
So
a little island, right?
A little island, a little further south. Funny enough, if you were to look at a map now and place where we are in Zhuhai, which is on the south coast of China and just over the water from Hong Kong, and draw a line vertically, literally straight down, do you know what you'll hit?
Straight down?
You'll go through the Philippines.
Well, down to...
You'll come into Indonesia.
I guess.
And do you know where you'll hit?
Well, the north of Indonesia.
Slice Bali right in half.
Okay.
Literally, vertically below us.
You're south of Bali, right?
East of Bali, 35 miles, an island called...
is it east?
Lombok.
Southeast, no?
East.
Totally east?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
And it's actually a very important line that delineates Bali and Lombok. It's known as the Wallace Line. Fantastic documentaries if you want to look that up, the Wallace Line.
Gromit.
No, it's an explorer who noticed that there's a massive sinkhole, the ridge in the seabed between Bali and Lombok, and you almost have, it's an invisible line, but completely different species of fauna, DNA in the animal species, that just over that 35-mile split happens. And the minute you go over the Wallace Line from Bali, you've gone from Southeast Asia into Australasia, Oceania. It's incredible, really interesting stuff. I really would, if anyone's interested in this, check out the Wallace Line on YouTube. It's fascinating.
I've done diving out there. I've not heard of the Wallace Line. That's an interesting little fact you'd like to share there, Mr. Bradshaw.
This is what China Jedi is all about. Let me tell you something else. The Caribbean. I don't know if you've been to the Caribbean. I've been lucky enough to go to the Caribbean.
I haven't. I would love to.
Talking about diving and the diversity there. So the diversity in the Caribbean, and it's extremely diverse. If anyone is listening now in the Caribbean or has been there or is going there, extremely diverse. Especially if you take a dive down into the coral and things like that. So you only need to go 20 meters down, even less. Apparently, according to the scientists, the Caribbean only has 10% of the diversity that's seen in that area of the Wallace Line in Indonesia, biggest archipelago in the world.
There's a lot to see out there for sure.
So it's packed with adventure, and I hope, listeners, that we're moving on from China now, and the researchers are sobbing away now through the glass panels of our studio, and we're actually outside, aren't we, Anthony? We're on the balcony of the studio.
Yeah,
today.
looking out. It's the perfect scene for saying goodbye to Zhuhai.
Yeah.
Looking out on the city spreading out before us, you can see
It's like Manhattan.
the short buildings, the tall buildings, the light spreading across the city.
With the river below us.
The faint, because it's in the evening, so you can see the faint shadows of the mountains in the distance.
Yeah.
The glistening water of the wide river below us. It's a beautiful sight. It's a really good way to say goodbye for sure.
And it's a cooler temperatures of hot in the day. It's settled down a bit now. We have our drink here.
And there we go. Like that we could lead into another thing I would be looking forward to in England, and I would like to say like the cooler weather, but right now they've got the heat wave, so it might be that I'm going back to the UK to escape this muggy heat, which I've actually really got used to and really love, and I might be going straight back to it in England. I'll have to keep. I packed all my winter clothes, but I think I might have to pack a few pairs of shorts and t-shirts.
Well, I can tell you now, it might have a few heat waves, but by gosh, come winter time, you'll be right back in the long johns.
There you go. That's another
scraping
thing I'm
ice off
looking
the
forward
window
to.
of your car. Seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like definitive seasons, because in England you get autumn, winter, spring, summer. You see those seasons. You see the leaves turning orange and falling off the trees, and then the bare trees with all their branches, and the winter, and like if you're lucky you'll get some snow. My son is really looking forward to seeing snow. That would be a fantastic winter if it snows in in winter this year.
In England?
Yeah, I know it doesn't happen
No
that
chance.
often, but that would be a dream come true for my son. He's dying to see snow.
Yeah. Like, well, you need to go up to Scotland.
And then the spring that comes through and the water that comes down. Obviously, rain all the time in England. All the plants and everything, all the green starting to come through, and then the summer. But you don't see that so much in Zhuhai, right?
Well, you have said it's very green.
Well, you get the seasons, but you don't
There's
don't
no
feel
defined
those
season here.
definitive
No.
differences, right?
No.
See, Zhuhai's strange.
It's like a constant monotone.
Well, you get that long, hot summer, and Zhuhai's really odd because you know winter's coming, and you'll get that like few random days, right, that suddenly goes cold, and it does this every year. It's so bizarre, and then bang, it will suddenly be warm again, and you're like, hang on a minute, I thought winter was here. Now it's summer again, and then 2 weeks later, bang, it's cold, winter.
It's a bit like COVID, isn't it? 1 minute
Like,
you
here
think
it
it's over.
is, and there's going,
and
it's
then-
back again, the next wave.
It's back again, and Novidism takes over. Now, let's not talk about that, because I don't want to. Well, we will
Yeah,
bring it
let's-
in, I'm sure.
shall
I mean,
we, COVID? Do we want to
you
go there?
cannot. I mean, we're in the midst of a country that is challenging itself to a zero.
Well, that leads into a segue of another thing I will look forward to in England.
A pull factor.
Not having health checks every turn I take. I'm going to the toilet, show me your health code.
Well, you were recently locked down.
Going
weren't
to the supermarket, show me your health
you?
code.
You were recently locked down.
Well,
weren't you?
yeah, exactly. Like
You're part
a
of
couple
the
weeks ago.
condo. We couldn't meet up unless maybe I came to.
Not even like a large area of the city. It was just like your little pocket of 10 apartments. Not apartments, like your 10 buildings. One person in your area. In that building, your one building, you have one person sick. We must lock down your entire area.
But it's keeping you safe, Anthony, and that's that's what's important. Okay.
Being
Keeping
safe.
you
Yes.
safe of
we
the-
must have those protect
Of the
us.
virulent viruses. Now, Anthony, as you know, I mean, we are live streaming now, listeners, and I don't know if you're listening to the live stream or you're listening to a post-production of this recording, I'm sure of which much will be edited, especially from Anthony's side. But I have been passed this by the research. There's a question from an Emily Hodgson. And Emily Hodgson, the researchers are putting pictures of us up. This is how cool it is now, China Jedi, on our Instagram. I didn't even know we had a bloody Instagram
We have
account.
an Instagram?
Apparently so. Well, you don't. You're not on the show anymore, but you are now. She's asked, Anthony, you are looking much more hairy.
Yeah, I haven't
no.
shaved my chest for a while.
No, it's not
Oh,
that.
not the chest
it's,
area.
No, it's the hair.
Okay.
Now, of course, years ago when you first started, you were, and you did say it a few times, worried about your baldiness.
Well, I'm not worried.
Well, you're not now.
I'm not worried. It was never a worry. It was
She's
just,
asking, Emily Hodgson is asking, what did you do to reclaim your man growth?
I
on your head.
got a bit of fertilizer, bit of nitrogen,
Oh, gosh.
sowed some seeds into the scalp.
Oh, whoa.
No, I went for a hair transplant.
Well, hang on a minute.
And-
Put a big bell into that bit.
Ding, ding,
Yeah.
ding. Well,
Anthony, it's
I had a
groundbreaking.
very, very, very hairy bottom.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, why not take some of those hairs, pull them out, and put them into my head.
This is
Because,
science,
you know,
Anthony.
people always call me an arse head anyway, so why not? Let's just go with it.
You're joking, are you?
Yeah,
You
of
saying
course,
that the
of course.
hair on
No,
your
no,
head now
I
from
have
Emily...
I have a very sexy, smooth baby bottom.
yeah.
No, yeah, well, I mean, hair transplant. Yeah, they take the hairs from the back and the sides of your head,
Okay.
and they like pull the hair follicles out. They like take micro punctures of little like plugs of meat that include the follicle of the hair, make little incisions in the top of your head, and stick them in.
Anthony, this sounds hilarious. So, when did you... So, this is... Sorry again, groundbreaking.
Well, look,
Because you do look, you know...
hairier, bit
I
younger,
mean,
maybe.
it's definitely... You got the quiff. I mean, this happened... When did you go in for the first...
Well, I did it once. Oh wow, what was that? 2-3 years ago.
This is before you went to find yourself in India, of course. I mean,
Yes, you know.
did that podcast.
Yeah, and then went again a year and a half after that.
So you've been two sessions.
Twice. Yes.
And was that in China?
Indeed.
Yeah. Whereabouts was it in China? I mean, Anthony, this is where, if we were a really sad corporate show, we would now insert an advertisement about hair transplants.
Changsha.
So is that the name of the company?
A
or-
city. To be honest, I'd have to look that up. but
What's happened? You've got a hair in your cup or something?
An insect has decided to fly into my
Into your water?
my drink. Yes. Get out.
Let's pause. Let's pause and get this sorted.
Ting ba dong, you got it all wrong.
No, so emergency diverted. The insect has been expelled
Well
from
done,
my
Anthony.
drink.
Peacefully expelled, of course.
Of course.
So you went to Changsha. I mean, did you take an entourage or did you go by yourself?
First time I went with my wife, Ule.
Okay.
And it's an interesting city actually. It's got. The,
Well, let's talk about the hair because because it really has worked.
Yeah, it's amazing. I was a little dubious. I mean, you hear about the stars and the movie stars and the guys from Hollywood that seem to keep their hair forever, and I wasn't sure if it would work, but I researched stuff online and I looked up the international organization that looks up surgeons around the world and looks for certified people that actually know what they're doing, and I looked for a guy that was on their website, and he seemed to have experience. He's been doing it for 10 years.
Did he
to
have the hair or
seminars
not?
Yeah, good head of hair, funnily enough.
Because really, like meeting someone who's bald doing hair.
Yeah,
it's
if
gotta
you
be a
met
bit
a
of
bald guy giving you hair transplants, yeah, that might be a little bit.
Did he have? Was he a
disconcerting.
Chinese doctor?
Yeah, Chinese doctor.
Speak English?
Dr. Dai, friendly
Dr.
guy,
Dai.
speaks a little bit of English, but
Did he have long hair? I can imagine him having like a massive.
no, he's a smart, well-dressed, well-groomed.
Clearly
he's
in the money,
a
yeah?
surgeon. No, not really. I mean, he didn't come out. He was quite a humble, friendly. He didn't come across as one of those sort of sleazy kind of surgeons that you just felt was all about the money and just, I'm going to say whatever you want to hear. He seemed like a genuine, friendly fellow that was a good chap, and he's been a surgeon for a long over 10 years and has been to seminars in America and he has had plenty of experience doing this. And no, I just had a good feeling about him. He was a nice chap.
Okay, Nurbavig, sorry, is asking, was it painful?
Not at the time.
Right.
Because you get the anaesthetic,
Right, you do.
and that was fine. It was strange actually. I didn't feel any pain until maybe like a week or two afterwards, and something was funny about my nerves in the back of my head. I was getting like these electric shocks going through the nerves in the back of my scalp, which, because I mean it is a surgery. It's classed as, a proper surgery. You are pulling out a lot of flesh from one area of your head and putting it into another area. So
Were you in an operating theatre on your own, or did you have like a crowd
kind
of
of.
people
It was
looking at
a
you?
kind of a clinic, very clean, very well kept, very professional. not really an operating theatre per se. Kind of, I mean, similar, but you're not put under general anaesthetic or anything like that. You get general anaesthetic in the back of your head, and but yeah, once I got the nerves were kind of picking up the sensation of where flesh had been pulled out around the nerves. I was getting quite a strong sensation, but that, you know, I put some ice packs on the back of my head, and after a week or so that alleviated. But the second time I did it, fine, no problems at all.
I don't know if this is a guy or a girl. Listen to the Gender Kate series of podcasts for that. Back Gik Hung is asking, yes, is asking, could he or she be given the details of the place? Very interested in knowing. Would you recommend it, first of all? This person?
If people feel more comfortable with
would you recommend the service given by the...
this particular surgeon?
Dr. Dye.
Yeah, I have. I've recommended him to a friend.
I mean, you haven't got dreadlocks coming out of you, but you certainly are looking less patchier, that's for sure. So, Back Gik Hung, send a message to info@ChinaJedi.com and we'll put you in touch. And absolutely no commission or call here, it's all just recognition. Now, Anthony, this show is a lot more than just pulling hair out from the bottom of your hair and putting it on the top of your hair. But I will finish with this. This is quite interesting. Do you know where the hair loss hotspots are in the world? Where the most bald men, because men tend to get bald more than women,
bald men.
come from?
Ooh, interesting.
It might surprise you, apparently.
For some reason, South America sprung to mind, but I've no idea why.
Okay, I like
But then
okay.
Germany kind of sprang to mind as well.
Well, scientifically, apparently, gosh, you're gonna love this. Hair loss is much more common in certain areas of the globe, as I've just alluded to.
Not Asia. I'm feeling it's not in Asia.
You don't see many baldies here.
Not a lot, no.
Male pattern balding, which Anthony of course had, seems to be concentrated in some countries much more than others, due to the fact, apparently, listeners, that genetics predicts the condition, and Britain, where Anthony is from, is one of them. Now, baldness is most common in the...
Of England?
Somewhere in Europe?
I thought you just said Britain.
Come on.
Germany then.
Ooh, political. Czech Republic.
Czech.
With almost half of the men going bald. If you're listening in the Czech Republic, there's a 42.79% chance, if you are a man, that you are bald like Anthony once was. The UK has the 5th highest count of smooth-headed men, with 39.23%
That I
of
blame on
males
stress from
losing their crowning glory.
government idiocracy.
Guess what the second one is? Spain, 42.6%, and Germany's next, number 4, before England, with 41.2%, followed by the French, with 39.24%, according to the website Cora.
It's interesting that you've gone into this like hair fascination with this like leaving of Zhuhai. Do you feel a hair loss coming on with the stress of leaving this land that you've grown to love?
No, but it's lovely having you back on, and I think Emily Hodgson has kicked it right off tonight by, we're talking about moving on and growing new things and moving into, getting rid of certain things.
Sprouting new roots.
Exactly. And, we're reminiscing, and I think she's right. If you look at a picture of you now, you have changed. You're going to be going back to England, and, with a bit more hair, you do look a lot younger than maybe you did.
Well, I think
before.
I had more hair when I left England. I lost it in China.
I got it back in
and
China.
I got it back in China, so I'm not too sure. Can we blame that on China, or?
There must be certainly a genetic predisposition, because in China you don't see a lot of bald men, right? I don't know if that's because of the sun or what they eat, but there's something to it.
I think the emperor slaughtered them all.
I mean, we got bigger noses and obviously balder heads. Now, springing on to pull factors, we talked about air. We've talked about
we're going to alarm mode.
I don't know. There was a second point that you said earlier of a pull factor. It was about the air and the countryside and
the countryside, the clean air, the seasons.
the seasons, very good. What else is there, Anthony, that's pulled you kind of away to England? Family? What about family? I mean,
family for sure. I mean, my parents are obviously
shout out to
not getting any younger. Yeah, Christopher,
lovely name,
Patricia
and
Benton.
And Patricia.
They're not getting any younger, as none of us are. We're always getting older as the world spins around the sun and hurtles through the universe. So yeah, spending time with family for sure. The ease of access to different types of food.
Ooh.
Like, I love... Okay, I mean, we could... I don't know if we're going to go into this yet. Are we going to talk about things that we'll miss in China?
Well, we're going to come to that, yeah.
Okay. I will miss food in China. We'll get to that later, obviously, then. But supermarkets for foreigners are a little bit limited. If you want to do cooking from around the world, if you want to cook Chinese food, cook, vegetables and meat and different things with soy sauce and garlic and peppers and chilies and all these different herbs and spices that I have in China, no problem. There's all sorts of wonderful foods you can cook in China. But the access to cheeses and different meats and herbs from around the world and spices and pastas and breads and grains, all these different things that you can get from around the world, it's not as easy to get in China. Whereas in England, you can go to a supermarket and then you can find all sorts of different things that you can buy to cook whatever you want.
Do you think that's because of a supply? I mean, we're in the midst of a supply chain debacle.
No, not at all. It's nothing to do with supply chain.
Absolutely right.
It was like that when I was in China 10, 12 years ago. It's to do with
demand. And actually, been here a long time, when you speak to Chinese people, they're very proud of their food. I mean, they have a diverse food culture. Absolutely. Massive country. And some of the food is wonderful. I'm going to miss it a lot. But generally, a lot of Chinese people that go abroad tend to not like the meat and two spuds and vegetables and not sharing it with other people like they do here. No bones, just breast, and no feet and no thick skin and
just meat
and eyeballs.
Just meat. Where's the bones? Where are the innards?
But I think a lot of the reason that happens is because in China, 1.3 billion people, how many foreigners are there? Well, before the mass exodus over the years,
even before the
250,000. I mean, you're talking about a minority that demand that, as opposed to the majority that don't even think about that. So I think that's, it's not international.
Well, there's no influence, is there? I mean,
diversity
like
is
you say, the foreigners are a very small minority here. And in the West, no matter where you are now, whether it's England, America, Italy, France, South America, like Brazil, you're still going to get an influence of different countries in those areas, whereas China's still very much Chinese.
And that goes back to a lot of history and, where it's come from culturally, what's been accepted, what's been allowed in and out and things like that. And again, as I feel I always say to you, that's another podcast and a half, and maybe a full. But food, okay. An interesting point there. So let's talk about now your the push, the things we're going to miss in China. Let's reminisce, because we've been here a long time and it's been a great time. Lots of wonderful things.
Loved every moment.
Wouldn't have stayed here.
Well, loved every moment is maybe a little bit stronger.
I mean,
loved a very large percentage of it.
I'll say, because I do feel you're talking just about yourself tonight, that on my side, all my children have been born here.
Right.
So, I mean...
My son too.
Yeah, your son too.
So you can't fault anything about China right from that perspective right there, right? You've developed your family here with your children. They've all been born here and my son was born here. So thank you, bless you, China, for that.
Healthily, happily, peacefully. And
well, going back to food then, because we were talking about food, missing China. Oh, Chinese food. I thought I knew what Chinese food was. You know, you grow up in England and you have the sweet and sour pork balls and the egg
Spring
fried
rolls.
rice, the spring rolls,
Prawn crackers.
the gung bao chicken,
Yeah.
kung
Fortune cookies.
pao chicken, right? They call it, but here's gung bao jiding. I thought I knew what Chinese food was, but now I realise that what we get in the West is the equivalent of Chinese McDonald's,
Yeah.
pretty much.
It's still nice though.
Right?
After a
Oh
Saturday
no,
out
it's
the back.
great. It's delicious. I'm not knocking it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying there's anything bad, but it is basically Hong Kong fast food. And when you come to China, I mean, when I first went to Beijing and I didn't speak any Chinese, I didn't read any Chinese, I didn't know anything about China, and it was just like I would have to go in a restaurant and I would literally be like, look at the waitress and be like, "Bop, bop, 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 bop." She'd be like, jiro, like chicken. I'd be like, yeah. Show me on the menu. Where is chicken? And she'd be like, here's chicken. And I'd be like, point at that. Okay, give me chicken. Out comes the chicken feet. Oh crap. Like, I like to eat chicken, but like, have you smelt chicken poo? Chicken poop stinks, and chicken feet walk in chicken poop. And I've that's one thing I've never been able to get to grips with is chicken feet. That's just Chinese love chicken feet, but
Good for the skin.
no. But then I discovered in Beijing one of my favourite dishes, which is kung pao chicken that they say in the West, gung bao ji ding, which is the chicken with the peanuts
And
and
spice,
the
chilies,
and
yeah.
the peppers and the carrots and the onion and the chilies and the kind of the sweet chili sauce. But the way they do it in Beijing, mwah, it's delicious. What about you? What's your favourite dish in China?
Well, on the
What do you
note
like?
of, I could say there's so many. There's dumplings, there's
Exactly,
noodles, there's,
right?
there's wonderful salads. I love the Chinese soups. I mean, in the West we think of soups as being a little bit more viscous, more thick, but here they're very thin, but they have bone broth in, and I love a Chinese soup. I miss that with a little emulsion of oil that just bubbles in the water. It's beautiful, especially when you're feeling a bit sick.
That's the thing, right? Like you think you know what Chinese food is, but when you get here, there's so many dishes,
Yeah.
so many different vegetable dishes, so many
Xinjiang
different.
food, I mean, beautiful.
And
the
yeah,
cumin.
exactly. All the different regions of China with their own different style. Chinese food is like we talk in the West about French food, Italian food, Spanish food. I would love to say English food, but
Czech
what can I
Republic
say?
food. They might be bald, but they do some good food. Yeah.
So you talk about all these different Thai food. I love Thai food. Indian food. But no one kind of, when you say Chinese food in the West, you kind of think of this quick and easy like box of noodles, you know. But if you come to China, wow, like the amount of dishes you can discover is mind-blowing, mind-boggling. It's amazing. The food in China, that's one thing I miss, for
Anthony,
sure.
says here, male pattern baldness radiates from the Middle East. The further away you are from the Fertile Crescent, the less likely you, if you're male, are to go bald. And there's a map here I've been shown listeners, and it really is. There's a dark spot around Europe and the Middle East and the top of Africa. And it says here, look at the dark spot, might as well be the map of the furthest extent of Arab expansion. South Asians had a lot of contact with the Middle East, so they have a lot of bald men. East Asia had little direct interaction with Arab empires, so few were bald. The natives of the Americas were known for having good hair and being the humans furthest from the Middle East. This says it can't be a coincidence. The part of the world also has a long history of mandatory men's headwear as well. Now, one of my grandfather was a submariner down in the submarines. He wore a hat all the time, and he went bald pretty early. I think if you have a lot of things on your head, it kind of tells the body, maybe keep it in, don't come out anymore. Something about that.
It's not the Chinese food then.
Definitely not Chinese food. Now, talking about food, how you get it to your door, there's been an explosion over the years in Waimai and ordering food through companies like Meituan, these boys or girls in, I call them bumblebees, so these yellow kind of suits whizzing around on their electric motorbikes, pissing me off because, you know, they go up and down paths and knock people over. They don't have any understanding
there's
of
a lot of them
cycle
whizzing around.
proficiency.
They can.
But I think it's led to a decadence of food culture in a way. People don't cook here a lot. They just order and it comes to the door in huge amounts of packaging. And now you see adverts in the West of Uber and things like this, but you pay a hell of a lot more for it. Is that something you'd miss, this kind of ease of efficiency of ordering something now, not getting in the kitchen and chopping up your garlic? And
Yeah, that is something I've become a little bit guilty of. It's that word, isn't it? One of the biggest horrible words in the English vocabulary at the moment is convenience. Because it makes life easy, but that ease of life comes at a price of mostly damaging the environment.
Can I say something here, Anthony? I think this convenience is a big challenge for humanity, because what seems to be happening now with technology, and okay, it employs a lot of people on bikes to go and whiz around and take food to people's doors, and let's be honest, we live in what you could call as extended battery cells. We're on the 24th floor now in our studio, and you see all over and like lighted up Lego bricks shimmering above the river here. But in this sense of batteryization, matrixization, mechanicization, technicalization of the human race, this convenience that you talk about, is it not leading us to a point where no longer, as I've said before, in the West, when I hire a car, do you need to switch on your window wipers when it rains? The car does it for you. Technology does it for you. So we're getting to a point now where you're not even having to cook anymore. And to a point maybe later on where you're not actually even having to think anymore. Your social media, the device that's currently in your pocket that will potentially be in your body in 5 to 10 years, if we carry on in this trend, will tell you what you think you should be eating. And it will directly link to someone and they'll bring you that food. Are we not going conveniently, or I would say inconveniently, into a world of, quite frankly, suppressed roboticization and the de-mechanization of human consciousness?
Cyborganization.
Yeah, the AI, 5G is waving us.
I can see the way.
Right in front of our faces.
We're slowly moving further away from the organic way of life, the way of humans melding into nature and naturally doing the things the way we do, and letting technology take over so many choices for us. That I see where you're coming from. Yeah, for sure, it is definitely. It does seem that life is going in that way. And it would be kind of scary if you did end up with some sort of sensor in your body that said time to eat. But then there are people that would think that's a great thing, right? I mean, it depends. That's the positive and the negative to two sides of things, right? If you literally had a sensor in your body that literally could read what vitamins and minerals your body needed.
This is happening, right? People have all these watches and things now.
Like a really positive thing for your health. If you could find a way of balancing that with a way of staying in tune with the world and in staying in tune with nature, because I find that the further you get away from nature and the further you get away from being in touch with the root, the earth, the where we come from, people have no attachment to the natural world, which I think is sad.
Children are growing up now without planting their bare feet on the ground. They live floors above. They have rubber shoes on. A lot of them now are being educated through computers. Where you're saying we're from, to a young kid now growing up in this world, that's not where they're from anymore.
Yeah, they're detached from it, which, some people wouldn't see a problem with that, but when you think about this world as an integrated system of everything being interrelated with each other and everything affecting everything else, which it does, everything we do has a knockout on effect to everything else. And if you don't have a respect for that system of the way things are interconnected around the natural world, if you throw a literally like a spanner in the works, it offsets things. That is something that we cannot avoid as human beings. So yeah, I agree. It would be great that this is my vision of AI in the future. Is I would love AI to actually be a bridge between humanity and nature, not to actually divide us further, but to bring this intelligence beyond ourselves that could actually connect us more with nature, to like discover these natural interrelated systems around the world where there's this fine balance between health and poison and beauty and darkness and filth and cleanliness, where I believe, and I know this is going off on a bit of a tangent, but I think AI could actually bond us closer to AI if we programmed it in that direction. There are people that are developing IA like that can push us in the wrong direction.
IA? Intelligent
did I say
artificial?
IA? Sorry.
AI?
AI.
Oh,
Sorry. Artificial
pedantic.
intelligence. Sorry. Did I say that wrong?
Pedantic?
And I really believe that there's this new system that people, because humans are creative, right? We are going to create AI. I honestly believe we will create AI that is more intelligent than humans. It's just we are so determined to do it that when humans are focused on this vision of creating something new, we just do it. So that's the beautiful thing I find about humans, is we want to create something and we end up creating it. It's almost like we have this vision of what will be and we just somehow manifest it. And I think we will create AI that becomes more intelligent than humans. But the point is, it's like a parents guiding a child. If you abuse a child, you will end up with a damaged child that could go on to doing damage to other people. But if you guide a child in a positive, nurturing way, as we could with AI, we could create this system that could actually benefit us and help us. And I think like there's so many people living in cities that are so detached from nature that AI could maybe be a bridge between us and nature.
Okay. Some great points there. Deflating it back down.
Yeah, I did go off on a
to ground level a little bit, although we're not on the ground. There's two things I want to supposit here to the listeners. Number one, two things. Number one is, there's an interesting thought that I have, a bit Jedi-ish here with you, that the increase in technology, the evolution of technology, artificial intelligence, and you just look back to when we were young and getting your first mobile phone when I was 16 to now, it just being a computer and everyone's on their phone, and there's so many amazing things we can do through the net. And of course we've got blockchain now on the horizon, embedding itself very interestingly in our lives, ready to do its magic. That there's a thought that says to me, the technology that's around us, that's evolving, is a physical representation of who we actually are. And just think about that a moment.
Yeah.
What I'm actually saying is that we are actually already the AI that's so amazingly beautiful. The body that I look in front of now, and
thank you. You
well,
pay me a compliment.
Kind of guy I am.
Beautiful body. There.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Well, especially with your lack of baldness now, is actually amazingly better than any AI is and ever will be.
Well,
and so we got to a point in a cycle where we got so good at AI and created whatever you're saying earlier, that it's better than humans, that we actually created this situation. And then on this first thought, we're actually in this amazing computer simulated game, okay? And this is a virtual reality that you've come down to as an avatar of Anthony and an avatar of Chris, and we're doing China Jedi. So it's a wave within a wave of a wave. So that's one point. That's a really interesting point. So
a small point. I didn't say AI would be better than people.
Okay, whatever.
But
I
just wanted to put that in there because I think it could complement us.
Okay, the other counter argument I want to leave here with the listeners before we move on is listen, I don't want to get rid of email. I want to be able to email someone.
That was useful.
Okay, it's nice to receive a letter, if you ever get one here anymore. Most of it's looked at and
Less
never
paper,
arrives.
less trees being chopped
But
down.
there's something beautiful about a letter, and that's clearly going now. Like a paper is clearly moving away now to this online, digitalised world. I want to email, and I like my 3G, and then it went to 4G, and now it's going to go to 5G. We don't need to talk about that because that's a bigger step up if you do your research. And my point is, all this convenience that we go back to, and you mentioned the convenience, these people coming around giving us your food, and what it's doing is it's allowing us to do more in less time. We're getting busier and busier and busier. And I actually think in that situation, and I feel that, it's one of the reasons we're leaving, because I just feel I'm on a hamster wheel. And I know there's a lot of people listening now that will resonate with this. And it's like, when can I get off? I can't get off. I've got to get to there and get to there because I'm responsible for this, this, and this, and I've got to pay that. And that, you know, there's these responsibilities as you get older. But I don't think that's natural. I don't think that's convenient to who we really are, to what nature really is. If you look at nature, yes, it goes fast. Bamboo grows fast. But my God, there's other parts of nature that take millions of years to get to certain steps. And I actually think when you slow down a bit, and this is why people, I think, love going on holiday if they get a chance. They go on holiday to a beach, a mountain, wherever, and after a week they come back and they just feel so much better. It's like they're grounded. They've stopped.
Time to let go.
They let go.
And
And what I'm saying on this second point is they've connected back in to this awesome natural AI system that's already implanted. Go back to my second point, in our AI system that we already are, that we're already amazing at. Superhuman computer. I'm looking at here, ladies and gentlemen. There's another big up for Anthony with his lack of baldness. And so I think there's something superbly intelligent in what's already here, and actually what was here millions of years ago. We're just disconnected from it.
That's what I worry about, is that we're becoming too disconnected from nature, and that's why I wonder if
natural AI, maybe.
AI, yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. But if you look at people in cities, they're so self-involved in everything that's going around in their world,
Too
their
busy.
bubble. Yeah, like go, move on to the next thing, do the next thing, meet my friend, go to work, meet the boss, talk to the boss, go for dinner, talk to your friends, drive down the road.
Deal with that client, client, send an email to that person,
And
get back from a quote for that
I'm wondering if, that's why I'm wondering if we need this bridge back to what you're talking about, the natural AI, this natural system, this natural, as you say, we've got this amazing world around us that's just, it carries on regardless of what human beings do. We've got this amazing system that is happening, like you say, natural AI. But I feel people need some people, not everyone, some people need a bridge back to that.
It's the classic, you're looking for the solution to your problem, but it's already there. Now, Anthony, coming to the end of the podcast, in this most salubrious of occasions, you being back on and all that jazz, it's such a fitting time, I think, to announce, surprise, China Jedi have been sensing and observing and looking at for many months, and that is, of course, we have a lot of listeners from around the world, and a lot of our listeners, I actually think, don't listen to us because of what actually you have to say or what I have to say, but because they like listening to, I don't know, it's mad in a way, two English people talking to each other. And, you know, my accent's a bit different to yours, but some would say we have the Queen's English. I don't think that's particularly a good comment in any way. But, you know, we've been stretching out, we've been looking at all the comments, and the researchers have filled me with a lot of information. And China Jedi listeners, it is my absolute pleasure to announce the winner of a very, very beautiful prize. And that is a listener who has come forward from many and has actually said, from listening to our bullshit, they've actually learned and improved their usage of the English language.
And got an award.
And I tell you what,
from
Andy,
listening to our podcast
And-
and improved their English language ability.
And like you said, if we can touch one person, or you can touch one
Yeah.
person, you can touch many. And so, who have we touched who's got the best, I would say, what's the right word here, has been fueled by the venom of our language? Can we announce it please now? Drum roll please, researchers. The winner is none other than...
Mr. Andrei Malkov, who got an award for the best English language in Zhuhai, China, and has been given his placard, his trophy of honor for greatness of English in China. Well done, Andrei Malkov, for listening to our podcast, and I'm glad that you were able to listen to our abysmal English and actually learn something from us and improve the way you speak and possibly learn something about the world, and well done to you.
Yeah, and I've heard Andre, now no longer in Zhuhai, he's originally from Russia, is now jet setting in Canada, Anthony, jet setting in
There you
Canada.
go.
So big hats off. He's made the change, he's
Yep.
burst the bubble.
Set him off on his way.
like we
Listen
were
to
about to
China
as well.
Jedi,
So-
learn his English.
That placard is, I think it's on its way. It's free postage. God, how amazing are we? It's Jedi in itself to you. And we really appreciate all your comments, listeners. As I say, good or bad, dark or light. It really
Yeah.
is wonderful.
Well done, Andrei Malkov. Well done to
Yeah.
you.
And I think in Russian it would be Basiba.
Maybe.
Thank you. Yeah. So there you go. Well done to Andre.
When I first came to China 18 years ago, this was a strange paradox that people in the West couldn't understand, because I came over here
Yeah.
and I was telling people that I felt more free.
Yeah. I even
I'm
wrote
in
a song
China,
about it.
and I
I'm
felt
following
more-
the Sino way.
Right, and people are like, but you're in China, that's where everyone's oppressed and everyone's downtrodden and life is terrible. And
One of the things was, ironically, I am more free.
Well, well, back then I felt more free because I was away from all the bullshit of the West, of all
what
the,
you knew,
all
what you
the,
knew.
all the, yeah, the doom and the gloom and the nonsense and the constant negativity and the media about how the world is always going wrong. And I came to China and everything was so positive.
Yeah.
Everyone was happy about the way China was developing and creating, and I just felt this weight lifted off me. And now it's almost like this U-turn now where, and I don't want to bash China, I don't want to say that it's all doom and gloom here and it's kind of almost totally reversed.
How could we bash China
And-
though?
and
China
it has-
Jedi.
no, I mean,
With so many
yeah.
positive things over
yeah,
the
absolutely.
years.
I have nothing, no negative things that I'm taking away with me from China. I have lived an absolutely wonderful, fun adventure here.
Except the man that got a baseball bat out of the boot that time and ran after you.
That's
But anyway,
another-
moving
that's
on.
another
That could happen
story.
anywhere.
But there is something changing here. It is starting to feel less free. Something here feels a little bit more oppressive, which is probably weird. Like you're gonna have people in the West listening to me and say, "Duh, China's always been oppressive." And all right, yes and no. In certain ways, you know, the government likes to have control here, but like that's the same in the West. You know, like it's the same everywhere. People in power have their power, and they are not going to relinquish that power without a fight.
I think
It's
some would argue that there are certain, within that power, there are certain degrees of rights that you're allowed
exactly,
to do,
exactly.
like protest, stand
Yeah,
on
for
a
sure,
box,
for sure.
do a podcast.
Yeah, and that's yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can go on the internet and you can pretty much look at whatever you want in the West, but in China there's a lot of regulation in the internet. But look what's going on with certain things with certain social media
Well, you have an
networks in the West.
ex-president of the United States that's
Right,
banned from
you don't
social media.
agree with the general narrative of what people are saying. Bumph.
I
You
think
know,
it's a
you say the
worldwide-
wrong thing, we'll cut off your account.
It's a worldwide
So,
thing.
you
It's-
know,
it is 1984.
Is it that different in the West? But things are feeling a little different in China. It's hard to really put a finger on what it is, and I could, you know, say certain things about certain
Do you think it was the same? Do you think it's because obviously being foreigners to 250,000 in a minority of 1.3 billion, the years when we came here 18 years ago, 14 years for me, that it was always that kind of tune was all there already for the local Chinese people, and that now it's just catching up now, the system, the AI, the data tracks, the spiders, should we call them?
Well, that's the thing,
and
right?
now catching
China's
up with
pushing
with
the
white
limits
board.
on the technology, right? They're at like people in the West don't realise, or many don't realise that China is actually at the forefront of all of these technologies. They're really pushing the boundaries on so many different things, like you say, AI, facial recognition, like cameras all over the streets.
We talked about this, the space race, you know, in the 60s, 50s, 60s, who could get the man to the moon or the woman to the moon first. And now, of course, it's who can 5G their country first. You know, it's America or it's going to be China. It's almost a 5G race now. It's just same story, just different characters and a different subject. But you're right, from a foreign perspective, and remember, we are shining light on an expat perspective here. We speaking English, we're talking from a Western cultural perspective, that we have seen a change. And, you know, for me with young kids, having to go and get tested every few days, it's untenable. It's, you know, life is difficult enough, 2 full-time jobs for my wife and myself, kids going to school, sometimes they can't go to school, the school's locked down, we're teachers, you know, it's a constant up and down. And the thing is, with all this more stuff you have to do, showing your QR codes and, I don't know, writing your registry of where you're going to holiday next, you know, with HR, the more things you have to do, the less time you have to actually, I don't want to say the word free, but again, going back to that earlier, just relax and connect with our essential selves.
I think some of the listeners might need to understand the perspective that you're coming from, and they might not understand what they mean. What you mean is that now China has become extremely strict with how they control the coronavirus, and if they get a little like whiff of, oh, there's somebody there with the coronavirus, we must shut down that entire area. Like you mentioned earlier for me, where there was one person in one building in my little area of buildings, and they locked down that entire area. We were not allowed out of that little 500 square meters of area and beyond that. Luckily, of course, they're not going to let people starve. You can order food from supermarkets and restaurants to order food to a gate that you can go and pick up. But what my friend here, Chris, is trying to get across to you as listeners is that China's become very restrictive with the way coronavirus is controlled. Like to go into a supermarket,
I don't think it's called the epidemic now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's strange. You have to show a QR code, like, I'm safe, I've been tested, there's nothing wrong with me. I want to go into the mall, here's my QR code, I'm safe, there's nothing wrong with me. I want to go on the train, here's my QR code, I'm safe, there's nothing wrong with me. You know, it's become a kind of, it's almost like a science fiction film, right? Where you've got to show your ID, your almost like your yellow star, that you're permitted to do all these different things as long as you are deemed safe. And yeah, I see where you're coming from. It's become a very restrictive way of life where you can't just relax and just get on with what you want to do, right?
I think for most people that are listening, Anthony, I think all of us have had the effects of this pandemic and this control of virus. You know, I think there's people now listening all around the world that would have had some effect of this control mechanism that's affected their lives, and maybe it's changing now. In a way, it's flipped. China has now become ultra safe, ultra intensive, ultra careful, and now the West and outside of China, it's all changing, almost saying, okay, let's just let this ride. You know, it's a virus. we'll let human immunity deal with it and stuff. So I remember talking about this in a podcast in England when we were locked down in England. We couldn't leave England, we couldn't get back to China, so it's affected all of us. But that was 2 years ago now. We're still at this stage. And then you kind of ask yourself, well, what really is this for? You know, this whole idea of this pandemic. What was it for? And of course there was this mass introduction of the vaccines now that are on 5, 6, 7 boosters. So to me, it's a massive smelly fish coming right from your underpants, and it's also a big red light going wham, 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 wham. And with this idea of convenience, this idea of living safely, you know, I'm going to talk about this a lot more on the Jedi's Invest vlog, of the real reasons, the big push really for us, not the pull, the big push of why we've decided to leave. And it does go down to this condensed idea of what we're talking about, of are you able to go in the sea? Are you able to fly a kite? Are you able to light a fire and cook something with your children around a campfire? Are you allowed to just be a little bit on that border of safety and non-safety? Are you allowed to live your life and you make that decision yourself? The very, very sensitive subject there. I would always say this: you're an adult, you want to play with fire, you play with it, and we see where it goes. But of course, even now, I remember in France, the gendarme stopped us from camping on the beach and lighting a fire because there were idiots before us that let fires loose and they spread, and they didn't, you know, deal with things responsibly. Again, it always goes down to that fact that the people before us that make the mistakes end up causing the people that wouldn't make those mistakes not being allowed to even attempt to light a fire.
You're actually touching on quite a valid point there. I feel like one of the biggest problems in society now is we let the few ruin it for the many. You have this little incident of a problem where a few people kick up and say, oh, this is a problem, we did this and this is going to hurt these certain amount of people, and if you don't change this, these amount of people are going to get hurt. And it's actually a tiny pocket of people where, you know, it doesn't actually happen that often, but they let this ripple bounce out throughout society, and it affects us all. And we're letting that seems to be the key point of what's going on in society these days. If you've got these minorities of a few voices that want these little changes, which might be a good change, maybe you want to have a positive change, but they're letting certain things that change things that have a bigger impact on everybody, and it's not necessarily a good change for everyone. Like, when we were kids, you go to a playground and you would learn, I'm going to climb up this climbing frame, and if I fall, I'm going to hurt myself. But now it's like, you know, one kid in 1,000 fell off and banged his head, and the parents were like, no, my child got hurt. We've got to have safe, soft, squashy floors and low climbing frames so the children can't fall and hurt themselves.
And then the next stage, you can't play.
But then, exactly, so the next stage
Unless you put a nappy on
is
your face.
children don't learn that sense of pushing themselves to the limit of discovery, and what are my limits as a human being, as a child? How high can I climb? And look down and go, oh, I'm scared, I'm not going to go any higher. But children learn these barriers of what they're capable of.
Boundaries, yeah.
Exactly. And now, as you say, then it gets to the point where you make the ground soft, you lower the climbing frames.
Everyone's
and
a
then
winner,
you say,
Anthony.
oh no, don't let the children climb at all. That'll keep them completely safe. But where's that sense of adventure, that sense of challenging yourself as a human being, as a child, to push yourself to the next limit? When you take away all that sense of pushing yourself as a human being, you're just lost in this flat line of safety.
Of algorithm. And are we not touching on the same point? I think it's a dehumanization of the human race.
Pushing the limits of being human.
And it's a mechanization of it, an algorithm of safety, control, and listening to your program.
And that's where you get back to the control, right? Where they tell you this is what's safe.
And
we need to keep you safe.
And it's convenient.
Don't push yourself beyond there. Don't dare go beyond what you might think is safe. Just stay in this little bubble of safety where I will keep you safe. And if there's any little problem, I will keep it away from you and protect you.
Yeah,
fear.
Rules. Like, you almost remind me of the Truman Show. Like, you're going to get on your boat and you're just going to sail on that sea. And you know what, Anthony? Isn't that what we're doing now?
Exactly. Yeah? You're off to your new adventure and I'm off on mine. I'm fed up with this bubble of safety.
Yeah.
Of being told what to do and where to go and where I can venture, and you haven't been tested for 2 days. No, you might be poisonous to the rest of humanity. Get back to your apartment.
Put your nappy on your face.
I'm dying. I've been hit by a car. I've been run over. I need to go to the emergency ward. Have you had your health code? No, you haven't. Well, die over there quietly until you've had your health test.
And of course, you said earlier that, conveniently in your lockdown experience, and we've had a few, that you were able to order food
more than once,
and the bumblebees would come and deliver it. Well, in certain parts of this country that we're now recording this in, that wasn't allowed. And quite frankly, that's no conspiracy. I mean, I know people that were in there. So, look, researchers just told me the title of this podcast is Reminiscing. And I think in the energy of where we are now, you're leaving in a few days, I'm leaving tomorrow, I've got to go and pack. There's certain tensions that are riding and going through us. And in a way, it's hard to reminisce in the current climate that we're in. We've mentioned a few things. I'd like to think that all the great work and podcasts and energy we've put in previously, shining human lover and light on Chinese life. Anthony, when we first started this in 2017, we wanted to just lay something down that maybe most people wouldn't want, but maybe some people out there listening now are interested in listening to, yeah? A natural, human, non-famous, very authentic, salt of the sea perspective on our life here. No good, no bad, it's just a real perspective. And I'd like to bring that, listeners, now into this, because there's no way we can cover our reminiscent of this wonderful country in the time that we've got now, with everything going around us. What I will say is, things are changing. Everyone listening to this knows what we're talking about. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. And my thing is, Anthony, like your bald patch that you went through years ago, there is a way out. There is a way to transform. There's always a way out of everything, yeah, for
sure.
Whether it's going up to the guy Dr. Dai in Changsha and getting some new roots planted, or like you're doing and I'm doing, bursting our bubble, nothing to do with China, and saying we want to change. We've had enough of the status quo.
Yeah, if you want to send a message out there, for sure, no matter what you are in life, no matter what position you are in life, no matter what's happening in your life, you can always change it, for sure. Just have the gumption, the energy, the audacity, the bravery to just try something new. Do it. It's the key. That's the thing. That's what's always brought me my new adventures, my best experiences in life, is when you just go out to do something new.
Yeah.
Just dare to do something new. If you're a listener out there, if you're stuck in a rut, if you're doing something and you've had enough and you're stuck and you're like, I'm just going round and round and round and it's just the same thing every day, just change it. Pick one change. Just find that one thing you want to change. Focus on that and go, I'm gonna do that, and just do it, man. Like you can change your life. You'll find a new adventure. It can be the smallest change, just something that you think, even if this is one little thing that you're not happy with, just change that and it'll lead you in a new direction, man.
Agree. And talking about technology, I think we've bashed, well I certainly have, I've bashed technology tonight, but again, I want to be able to send an email. Harness the good things in technology. Now, one of them is connection. Connect with people. If you want to do something, go online, find people in that tribe that are doing the same thing, learn from them, listen to them, connect with them, get into that group. It's free. You don't need a university degree. Man. And then offer. How can you be of service? And this is how it's going to work, I believe. This is the way we've got to go forward with. And through doing that, we transform ourselves and our reality and our lives and those around us who are connected to us. So on that note, this is far beyond China. China Jedi reaches for the stars. And it's been beautiful having you on tonight. Thank you very much for coming back.
Thank you, Chris, for being a part of my life, man. I've known you for over a decade, and it's been a blast, man. It's been an adventure. It's been an honor. We've been on this adventure through this foreign land together, and you're off on your new adventure and I'm off on mine, but I know we'll be in touch forever.
Absolutely.
And I know whatever goes on in your life, I will continue on in my life, and we will keep in touch and inform each other of what's going on. And you've affected my life, I've affected your life.
Like a virus.
And it's yeah, I've caught things from you and you've caught things from me. Nothing sexual, listeners. I must make that very clear. No STDs involved in that whatsoever. It's all purely spiritual and mental. We've all got the mental cooties from each other.
You know, viruses are, I think, the biggest cause of evolution. They're the genetic mutators.
Viruses or bacteria, yeah, it's one or the other.
They're the delegators. They change things up.
Yeah, for sure.
And you know what? In history, those people that stand up like viruses and go against the system, rub against it, question it, the status quo, in that current time and place, they're always ostracized. They're always the conspiracy theorists. They're always the mad people. They're always the mavericks, that cause problems. But later on, when they reflect, those are the drivers, those are the viruses, those are the changes. And I'd like to think people we've interviewed over the years on the China Jedi podcast, and just this vibe that we've put out there, whoever listens to us, I'd like to think in some small way, like a wave, a tiny droplet in that building wave, we've helped to move things on.
Like the pebble dropping into water, the ripples have echoed and bounced outwards. Yeah, I hope so. Even if we've touched one person out there, that's a positive good thing.
Touching people, eh? Typical. You have to end it on that. But Anthony, you're absolutely right, and I would just finish on this. If there's people out there now wanting to make the change, there's only one way you can do it. You've got to make that physical action step. You've got to do something, change it. Don't mentally, not just sitting there dreaming about it. You've got to make that move. You've got to buy that ticket. You've got to go out there and speak to that person you haven't spoke to in years.
Don't be scared of that change.
Make that change.
Just do it. It's an adventure. It's a blast. It could be the best thing that happens in your life. If you feel you need a change, make that change.
Could be the worst as well, but my God, you'll learn from it.
Maybe, exactly. If it sends you in a direction that wasn't your intended direction, you're going to learn something from it, and then you'll learn that, and you will send you in another direction, and eventually it will send you in the right one.
See, do you like the whole analogy of the ball patch? And then
sprouting new roots,
growing new regions of hairiness. That's what it's all about. Okay, we bring this to an end. As we always say, may the smile be with you, listeners, and we will be back somewhere, in some place, in time. This is China Jedi, people.
Thank you for listening to the China Jedi podcast, shining humor, love, and light on Chinese life.
May the smile be with you.